Welcome to the Jiu Jitsu Oracle's prediction show for the over 80 division at the Craig Jones Invitational. The bracket's out. We're going to pick who we think will win each first round match and then every match thereafter up to declaring who we think will be the champion of the big boy division at CJI. Who are we? I'm Ross, joined as always by Calum. This is the Jiu Jitsu Oracle. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends, and leave comments if you agree or disagree with any of our predictions. First match, number 1 seed Nicky Rod is going up against Max Jimenez.
Yeah, this will no doubt be a tough match for Nicky Rod. Max is very experienced. He's a veteran. He knows how to win matches. He's also a very big guy, but definitely have Nicky Rod likely to come out on top in that match. Probably give him an 80 to 90% odds of winning that.
I agree, and the way this works is, as we go through, Calum's going to make the prediction. If I have a differing opinion, I'll let him know, but ultimately, it's what Calum chooses that's going to happen so that we can keep the bracket moving forward and we just don't have a roadblock. So, Nicky Rod's through. Nicky Rod will play the winner of Owen Livesey against Muhammad Ali.
So this match is both guys are likely going to be on the feet against each other. Because of that, I think Owen definitely can win the match. We've seen him beat some really high-level grapplers that are like specialists in the stand-up, but some question marks over Muhammad Ali because I've not seen him too much the last few years with him preparing for MMA, but much more accomplished grappler, a lot bigger and more physical, so I will go with him coming out on top in this match.
Okay, and then the bottom half of the left-hand side of the bracket, for those who can see a bracket, we have Adam Bradley against Kyle Bain.
Yeah, so Adam beat Kyle at the recent trials, which would lead you to believe would pick him, but I'm actually going to go with Kyle on this just because of how it's judged. I think Kyle's got a more aggressive style. I think he's going to chase submissions a little bit more. Adam does some of his best work when he looks like he's losing the match and like off the back foot of defending some stuff. And then given the fact that the rounds are quite short and that being aggressive and moving forward is judged very highly, and then also Kyle is probably the more likely of the two to get a submission, I'm going to go with Kyle coming out on top in that one.
Okay, and then Pat Downey against the man who was given 4th seed by the fans of CJI, Luke Rockhold.
So I think on the feet, I don't see Luke Rockhold taking Pat Downey down, and I also don't see Luke pulling guard. However, he's been at AKA for years, training with some super high-level wrestlers like Daniel Cormier, Cain Velasquez, Khabib, Islam, so I think he's used to dealing with like big, strong, super high-level wrestlers. I mean, just training with Daniel Cormier alone kind of proves that point. And we've seen him develop a game not going head-to-head in the wrestling, but using his jiu-jitsu, snapping up front headlocks, getting guillotines, wrapping up head and arms, and then butterfly sweeping once he's taken down. So I think his experience with those types of like wrestlers is going to favour him well in this match, and I've got him coming ahead at the end of that match.
Okay, moving over to the other side of the bracket. First up, we have number 2 seed in CJI, Victor Hugo, against Lucas Kennard.
I think this is probably the easiest one for me to pick. I think Victor is one of the clear favourites for the division, one of the biggest guys in the division and the most skilled. And then Lucas is kind of just breaking onto the scene at this level. Very dangerous with the legs, but he's not really proven to beat guys of this caliber, let alone of this caliber, and then also having close to 100 pounds of weight on him. So I'm definitely going to go with Victor Hugo on that one.
Okay, and then we have Ignacio Santos against Pedro Alex.
So I don't know the most about these two guys, but I do know last time they faced off, Ignacio Santos came out on top, so I'm going to go with him coming out ahead in this match.
Bottom half of that side of the bracket. First up, Daniel Kirkland against Felipe Andrew.
Yes, I know a lot of people are riding high on Daniel Kirkland. best wrestling in this division, biggest guy in this division, most athletic guy in this division, so he's got some big things going for him. However, I think it's a tough matchup for both of them, but stylistically, very tough matchup for Felipe Andrew. We know he's going to have good wrestling. We know he's probably going to have good top control, given that he's got some pins in his wrestling record, but we don't know how he's going to deal with the guard and submissions, which are two things you don't have to deal with in wrestling, and those are two things that Felipe Andrew's got in abundance. He's got a very dangerous triangle, very dangerous straight ankle lock, and a really good guard. So because of that, I think he's going to throw a lot of questions Daniel Kirkflait's way that he probably won't have answers for. So I'm going to take Felipe Andrew in that match.
And then last on that side of the draw, João Gabriel Roca against William Tackett.
Yeah, so obviously João Gabriel Roca is very technically good and skilled in and of himself, but I kind of see this as a skill and technique versus size sort of match. I think skill and technique-wise, probably take William Tackett as being the most skilled athlete in this whole bracket, although he is also the smallest, and he's up against one of the bigger guys in this division first round in João Gabriel Rocha, so it's going to be a tough match for him to win, but I think given his varied skill set, how skilled he is, and he's also used to competing against some bigger guys in the past, very tough to kind of make a decision, but I'm going to give it to William Tackett for that.
Okay. Let's go back to the left side of the draw. So we're predicting it will be Nicky Rod against Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, so this is a rematch from Nicky Rod's first ADCC, which I believe was in 2019. And this was a first round matchup, I think. It was a pretty back and forth match on the feet. We've seen Nicky Rod get like a double leg going out of bounds, and like Muhammad Ali get some nice judo counters as well. So it was quite a close decision in that match. If we're just going off of that, I have to pick Nicky Rod, and then also in Nicky Rod's favour is he's just been doing grappling since then. He's gotten another ADCC silver medal and many other accolades on shows here and there to his name, whereas Muhammad Ali has been preparing for MMA, so we'll definitely take Nicky Rod in that.
Okay. Kyle Baim against Luke Rockhold.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. So, like I said, Luke, I think, is quite well versed in dealing with wrestlers, but the same with Daniel Kirkflait and Felipe Andrew. Don't know how well versed he is in dealing with like very skilled modern guard players, which Kyle Baim is. This is quite a difficult one to kind of say. I think if things are quite sweaty and slippery and Luke can avoid the leg locks and just rip out, I'd probably favour him in that match, but I might have to go with Kyle Baim in that match just because we don't really know how Luke is going to be able to deal with like the modern leg lock game. Any matches we've seen him in the last few years against Nicky Rod, for example, we didn't see how he dealt with that. So just because of the question marks in that, I'll go with Kyle Baim.
I think that's a fair shout, especially if Kyle flies out the traps early, attacking legs.
Yeah.
Victor Hugo against Ignacio Santos.
Again, if this was seeded traditionally, one of the highest seeds versus probably one of the lower seeds. I think, have they competed before? I think they might have, and I think
you'll have to check BJJ Heroes very quickly if you're throwing that into the mix.
Yeah, I think they have, and I think Victor Hugo came out on top. But regardless, Victor Hugo, a lot more accolades to his name, a lot more dangerous in different positions. One of the favourites in this bracket, so I'll go with Victor Hugo coming out on top for that.
Okay, and then in the bottom section of the right-hand side of the draw, we now have an intriguing match between Felipe Andrew and William Tackett.
This is an intriguing match. I'm going to go with Williams in this. Again, there's a big size discrepancy, and Felipe is very dangerous, but I think if he gets his ankle lock on William, I think he could submit him, but William's very well versed in dealing with leg locks. His skill set is a lot more varied. I think I would actually favour Felipe if he was to wrestle and could get on top against William, but if he decides to pull guard, I think William's passing will be a bit too much for him. Tough one to decide, but I'm going to give the slight edge to William.
Interesting. So you're going for the storyline of the smaller grappler going through the first couple of rounds, getting all the fans on his side, and then when he gets to the semi-final in a very tough match, he's going to be the clear fan favourite at that point, and we'll see what happens. So we'll come back to Calum's predicted semi-final of Victor Hugo against William Tackett. But first, let's discuss Nicky Rod against Kyle Bame.
Yeah, so we've seen this match before on at least one occasion that I can remember. Nicky Rod coming out on top in that. Nicky Rod trains with some of the best leg lockers in the world, and outside of the likes of Gordon, we've seen him defend those pretty well. Also, very lively and hard to just get a hold of in any sense, to be honest, especially at this point in the bracket where things start to get a bit sweaty and slippery. Obviously got the edge on the feet. I think he can pass Kyle Bame's guard. I think he's going to be a lot more aggressive, which scores highly in this rule set. So I'm definitely going to go with Nicky Rod coming out ahead in that match.
Okay, and then Victor Hugo against William Tackett.
Yeah, I think people will probably be surprised with how good of a match William can have with Victor Hugo. That being said, it is a massive mountain to overcome. I can see William winning the match, but I think like on a balance of probabilities, and if I had to bet, if it was even odds, I would put my money on Victor Hugo. I think they're two of the most skilled guys in the division, and even if I give a slight skill advantage to William Tackett, there's still a massive difference in physicality towards Victor Hugo, so because of that, I'll probably have to pick Victor Hugo.
Okay, and that gives us a final of Nicky Rod against Victor Hugo.
Yeah, so these guys have faced off 3 times, and I think each time has been a decision victory to Victor Hugo. So I'm going to go with Victor Hugo. That being said, though, it's been 3 matches before that like haven't been blowouts, and then as well, the way this is run with like 3 5-minute, or actually it will be 5 5-minute sprints if this is now in the final. I think we could see that, especially with aggression being scored quite highly and being scored over other things like submission attempts. I could see Nicky Rod getting the decision in this just because I think he will be more aggressive. He will be looking to take him down if he does wrestle with him, and I think his passing will be quite aggressive. We've seen him get caught in submissions and then kind of just slip out, and the fact that aggression is scored higher than submissions kind of leans towards Nicky Rod, but you can't go against someone that's like 3-0 in that specific matchup. So I'm going to take Victor Hugo in the final.
Calum's called it Victor Hugo to win the over 80 division in the Craig Jones Invitational. So you've heard our thoughts. Why don't you jump into the comments and let us know what you think with regards to any individual match, or if you're bold enough to make a call that a certain grappler is going to go all the way and win the division, let us know. We've also done the under 80 division in the Craig Jones Invitational, so if you can, have a look at that. And again, let us know your thoughts. Did we call it right or wrong? But for now, that's it for the prediction show for the Craig Jones Invitational. Can I just say on that, I put a question out on our Instagram as to whether people preferred the brackets coming out roughly 2 weeks before the event for the Craig Jones Invitational or the day before for the ADCC, and the overwhelming majority voted in favour of the CJI approach of getting the brackets out early. And I have to agree, because we can run through it like this, get the debate going, it builds up anticipation for the event, and also all the athletes know who they're going to be grappling against well ahead of time, so we can game plan. So I think this is a great way to go about it. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I actually think from an athlete perspective, I'd probably rather not know, because I probably stress and build things up in my head, but I'm a bit peculiar when it comes to competing, so I can imagine most people probably would want to know ahead of time. And definitely as a fan, I like knowing ahead of time, so I can kind of think and then have a little discussion like this of who I think's going to come through each match. I think it makes things more fun rather than everything getting thrown at you like a couple of days before, and then you've got all these different brackets to try sift through.
Good. Well, that concludes the prediction show for the over 80 division in the Craig Jones Invitational. Will Victor Hugo win it all? We'll have to watch the show to find out.